Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Friday the 13th. How is everyone doing today? Good morning, Sterling. Sterling putting earnings from yesterday and today. So let me get to some other, before we get to some other hellos. Can't talk again this morning. Good morning, Zello. Good morning, Mark. Happy Friday for 13th, Patrick. Good morning, by the way. Good morning, Yogi. Hope your trading's going well. Who else is in here? Who else? Did I miss anybody? Sterling's filled up the whole chat with earnings. Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Patrick and Rusty over on Rumble. Good morning, Miss. A good Friday fish fry. Well, it's coming up to Friday fish fry season. You know, Lent is starting soon. For the people who don't eat meat on Friday, have some fish on Friday. So that's what we're looking at. We have the CPI numbers coming out this morning. But first, we got to say good morning, Royal Palms. So we'll get to Sterling's getting a lot of comments in here. Sterling, we're gonna have to have you as a guest on sometime. You're gonna have to appear on the channel. Hey, good morning, Ted. So we had the inflation stuff come out. Core is coming in line roughly, a little higher than previous, 2.5 year over year. Headline is down a little, 2.4, 2.7 previous. Uh, Still, everybody's celebrating this. Still run. We need inflation like below 1% because we got commodities still heating up and everything else. You might see some inflation jumps, but it is if it's actually coming down, it is good news. It is good. It is better news. So we got Bowman speaking on Monday. Remember, Monday is a holiday, President's Day. Futures are limited trading. They close early. Stocks are closed. Good morning, Holy Holy. Good morning. How are you doing? So that's what. So Monday, I don't think there'll be a live stream unless something happens this weekend. I'm going to be looking for stuff though Sunday night. There might be some interesting setups. Looking at the market today, mega caps are mixed. Applied Materials, which were reported yesterday, is up 11.3%. They beat solidly. There's what is Robinhood's bouncing? Boy. What else do we have? It's pretty mixed this morning overall. We got a little bounce off those inflation numbers. Technology, healthcare, industrials, real estate leading. Consumer defensive, comm services, and financial lagging. Fed watch, we still have 90% for the pause in March. I don't think this print does anything to change that. We're still solidly in fear mode. The Oh boy, their market momentum, they got to fix something with here. Extreme fear from this pullback. This is extreme fear. I want to know what it'll look like if we plunge. Oh my goodness. We're in extreme fear, but the stock price strength is extreme greed. Schiller PE 39.71. The market is below 40. Dirt cheap again. Dirt cheap. Go buy everything. That is a joke. Sterling putting in all the earnings. We'll take a look at that again, but that pretty much wraps up. I think Sterling, you covered them all. I think you covered them all. So let me just see here. Let's get through some of these earnings with Sterling. Airbnb was a misbeat. Stock up 6%. Rivian, they had a pretty good beat. This company still doesn't make money. I'm actually looking at their R2. Very interesting little truck there that's going to be coming out. DraftKings miss stock down 15%. Coinbase they missed on revenue up 8 something percent. DraftKings did make a potential double bottom. I was watching that going into earnings. It just because you have a potential, let's clarify this for the new people. Does that mean it's triggered or confirmed and you don't buy on a potential? Because again, it was never triggered or confirmed and DraftKings got slaughtered. So that's why you do not, at least I don't. Here's what Sterling is talking about. Here was your potential double bottom. So if you're trading after hours, you're watching momentum and it starts gapping up and going towards this, yeah, you could trade it and wait for a confirmation. But you don't go, oh, potential double bottom. Let me just get long. Because here you go. Kaboom. See this gap down completely invalidated. It was trading close to 75% harmonic. I think this thing on any bounce plays will just keep rolling over. People are still wanting to buy the crap. Pinterest, beat, miss, another one missing on revenue. And pins. Remember how popular this was. Woo! Vertical up, vertical down, and look at this now. I mean, look at this. Just grinding lower, and all the people are buying every dip, but back below the 87.5. Because now it's things matter. Roku triggered a double bottom on weekly that has not hit the first target yet. Here's your Roku. This a weekly double bottom. A weekly double bottom. It had a weekly double top. Now it's bouncing. I don't see a weekly double bottom because this would not be valid. It had a weekly double top that did not hit the first target yet, and bouncing with the earnings. But this could easily still roll over again. There's your applied materials. Big, huge gap up in that. Advanced auto parts. There's your advanced auto parts. Keeping an eye on that also. Coming into, especially in the short term, keeping an eye on a close. Come on. A close back above 66.18 is going to be very key. Also, in any pullback, going to be watching about 62.75 area for any pullback on that. So keep an eye on that. Wendy's, I want to go, thank you for putting in that. Wendy's is something long term I'm looking at. Here's your Wendy's. Let me get to the monthly. Looking at this, especially if we get closer to the $6 mark, somewhere between $5.50 and $6, this will be another turnaround story potentially. Why am I interested at this? Yes, they have bad guidance. It's going to need a turnaround. That's why, again, being very, very patient. But down around this area, if it can trade back down there, woof. They haven't trimmed the dividend yet, so we still have over 7% dividend yield. P/E ratio 8.35. Now that can still, because of again, they're not posting good numbers, but this will be a turnaround story. I don't think Wendy's is going out of business because they might have to shutter some more stores and everything. But this is another one that I'm keeping an eye on longer term if you're interested in that kind of thing. Because again, you've had the doom loop for Wendy's before, and then again, it'll need a longer term bottoming pattern. But it sold off with the last major recession. Sold off. Let me get back to the weekly. Sold off from the last major recession, 08, 09, made a long base, which took over 3 years, then broke out and went on a run for, there's your COVID shutdown, but again, it went on a key run to even went to new highs. So you might want to add that to your radar screen. It's not a buy yet. Let me stress that, but it's something that's on my long-term radar screen. All right, we had Moderna beat stock up. Moderna is still nothing I'd touch right now. Win may be breaking down and has a clear path on the weekly. Win, your key thing. It does have below here. It has a clear path on the weekly. It's still right there. It's right there pre-market. It's got to break this support. Here's the clear path that you're looking at. It's actually a clear path to this gap. So Could we see another big retracement in win? We sure could. Back between the 50 and 62.5 and that potential gap fill. That could be interesting. The only thing, now this might be invalidated before it ever triggers, but we do have a potential double bottom. That's the only thing that would make me bullish at this point on win. Back below the 200 on the daily, couldn't bounce very much and back below it. So I'd be looking for longer term for that breakdown play unless that double were to trigger. What else? Wendy's, relatively speaking, is so much better than Mickey D's. I actually prefer Wendy's to Mickey D's. I haven't eaten in either of them in a long time. Skip the middleman. Just put the fries in a frosty. Who here is a fries and a frosty person? You know what's scary is I've never tried. For my wife, who I don't, when she was a modern dancer, they used to always stop touring the country and the world. In the country they always used to stop at Wendy's because you could get the really good salad bar. But sometimes she'd do the fries and the frosty thing because again, you really got to watch your diet. Uh, but I have never done fries and a frosty. My wife swears by it, even though she'll like eat fries. I don't think she's had fries and a frosty for like 20 years, but she swears by fries and a frosty. Who here eats fries and a frosty? Adobe is starting to look like crap. That's why I know. Software is getting very beat up. The double, I was looking for that potential double. Now it's cautious because it's below 62.5, but I am starting to look for some software to bounce. I had an aggressive entry in Microsoft that already hit the rotation zone. Microsoft, by the way, software's getting overdone to the downside. I'm actually starting to look at Adobe. It's got to form a bottoming pattern. Adobe's another one on my. Adobe's not going anywhere. Microsoft's still a little pricey, PE, but it's very oversold. I'm just giving some stuff out that, again, it's a Friday. Microsoft, if it does trigger this little mini double, is another entry. If it pulls back and we already got the bounce that was over and hits this area, this 87.5 to 200 on the weekly, again, I am. That was very, very good for me. Well, it's very, very interesting to me from another long perspective. This was a potential bounce play that could turn into still something lower, stop still below these key lows. However, or if the double is more conservative, it needs a couple more days to get out of the way of the rotation zone, but we could see this easily bounce back to the 50. Is this something long term yet? No. Could it turn into something longer term? Yeah. But software is getting super beat up. Like AI is going to replace all software? No. By the way, also Microsoft filled the gap from back in April of last year, the earnings gap. Charles wants to check XPO. Never sounds wrong on so many. So holy holy's not eating frosty and fries. Mayo, well, if you have Belgian fries with really good mayo, Belgian fries, you got to do your Belgian fries. Uh, XPO, the logistics. XPO, which did break. The XPO had the good earnings, pretty strong revenue beat. Got a little ahead of itself. Here's your XPO. Again, XPO is not something I would be chasing. It's very pricey, and I'm going to be watching for a backfill. This thing could easily backfill to the 160 area. So, would not be chasing it up here. If you are, it would be a very tight stop, and I'd be looking at the weekly rotation zone on XPO. Okay? Be watching this area. We've lived in holy crap, Mike. That's another thing we share. We lived in all the same states, like the same music, and my wife is also was also a modern dancer. She was a company member with Joseph Holmes out of Chicago and with Alien New York. Guys, that's fascinating, Teddy. My wife was a professional modern dancer with Ryrie Woodbury out of Utah. But she's very familiar with Ailey uh, and Joseph Holmes. She actually, before she decided to go into other things and go get multiple master's degrees and everything else, she interviewed with a couple. She tried out and got offered with a couple other modern dance companies in New York. I forgot the one out of Pittsburgh. But now she's a chief information officer. Go figure that one. Go figure that one with multiple masters. So another holy. Are you jealous of the bromances? Holy. I love PayPal. Keep PayPal. I'm trying to list some things. I'm trying. Did I not? I'm trying to list some things that you might want to put on your radar screen for longer term things. PayPal is another one. PayPal round trip. I mean, all right. PayPal potential acquisition at some point. PDE 7.48. This is not a dividend payer, but I'm looking for patterns in this. It does have a little mini potential double bottom. Sterling is correct. But this would be for a bounce play only. But these are the kind of things, if you get a bounce and it starts getting momentum, or you have something that, hey, this turns into more of a play, because these things can turn around and go on a tear. So that means I look for things that could turn into something longer if they go on a tear. Otherwise, I'm quite happy waiting for the long-term bottom. So, very good with very good, Sterling. Again, PayPal is another one. Put on your watch list for potential longer term things. Things are getting really out of whack, just like they're getting out of whack the other way. Walmart, P to E 45 with a dividend of zero point 0.7. Would I'm more interested in I'm not saying Walmart, it's just insanely overvalued. Insanely overvalued. Look, I mean, here's your monthly chart of Walmart. Look at that. Am I scooping up Walmart this extended? Like last time, it returned to monthly rotation zone pretty quickly last April. This, not scooping up Walmart like this. I'd be scooping up things like PayPal. Uh, Another one. I mean, it has not gone to new highs yet, but Costco, 52.40. Not scooping up Costco here. Things are getting out of whack. I mean, I'm not saying Costco's not going away, but it's not justifying a 52 PDE. Also, either it's got to travel sideways for a lot longer, or at some point correct. But this is not a long-term play for me. Something to avoid, by the way. Do not get in this whatsoever. Carvana is it's fraud. By the way, it already yesterday reconnected with the first target of the double. And I think this is a candidate to potentially go to zero at some point. Mark my words. But on the short-term trade, hit the target yesterday. Don't be trying to scoop up anything with Carvana. Yeah, I know but I'm not Renaissance Technologies added. Okay, I'm just saying, if you're looking for long-term plays, I would not be backing up the truck for Costco or Walmart here. Okay? That is not, there's a lot of things that are getting to bargain levels out there that have been super ignored and just they're on the crap list and they're not going anywhere. And there's stuff like you're running into Walmart with all abandoned. You're running into Coca-Cola with all abandoned. These things can pull back. AMD, yeah, we'll check out IREN. AMD, we'll get to some other stuff in a sec. AMD has the confirmed double top. I'm also looking at this one. It's confirmed it has not triggered, and that's a lot. Look at the, you can see it on the monthly. All right. Looking at that one too. This is the major breakdown plays that I'll be looking for. Remember, for anybody watching this for the newer, NVIDIA confirmed but not triggered on the weekly head and shoulders. So this one's not been triggered, but I'm watching for this. This price action has done nothing to invalidate it yet. Also on the daily, if this eventually breaks down, it'll be out of the way of the daily 200. We have things like Broadcom. Broadcom did trigger, bounced off the 200, did trigger, and also triggered this head and shoulders on the weekly basis and bounced off the 50 week. Nothing to invalidate the pattern. These can take a long time to play out. But these are the things that we're getting significant, a couple that have already been triggered, topping patterns in AI related stuff. IREN. So you had the little close in the daily that didn't follow through on the weekly with the 62.5. No double top. Potential double bottom. Is that a potential double bottom? Not yet. I'd be seeing if this gets that potential double bottom. That's the only thing that would make me bullish again in the short term. Other than that, I'd be watching how it reacts if this breaks down again and validates the double bottom close to that 200. I want to flip the harmonics again. It did a little fake out move, which is why you use stops, which is also one of the things I don't talk about as often. But when you remember, I say certain things have to follow through on the weekly. You got the daily close above the 62.5 that did not follow through on the weekly and then broke back down below key support. That's why you use stops. Nothing works all the time, but you see this key support level? We had in the chart before, broke above there, shifting on the daily the probabilities, but did not follow through with the weekly close. And then breaking key support. The only thing at this point, again, if we formed a double, it would have to trigger. And hopefully the rotation zone and the 50 EMA would be out of the way. Other than that, I'd watch for beyond these recent lows. And you have the massive 62.5 right below that. If this were to close below the weekly or the daily 200 and the 62.5, I'd be very patient. We had single stock futures contracts before. Just another way to do leverage. This market's turning into a gambling machine. So, Holy likes doing the stock watches occasionally. Just occasionally? Now let's take a look at some of this other stuff. Then S&P did not close below 62.5 and bounced back above, but so far got rejected 68.65. Being very, very careful. This was not a double, by the way. It still is technically one. It's a lower probability one in the 4 hour, but I'm watching 68.65. If we get above there, it goes in the rotation zone. We closed below the 62.5 on the 4 hour. Did not follow through with the daily, though, yet. I am getting into neutral to slightly bearish mode unless we can regain the 4 hour rotation zone. And I'm going to be looking for stuff on Monday. If we break down 68.16 and then 68.74 are the key targets, with 68.74 being very key. So I'm going to check something. This is technically off the table now. That is technically off the table now, but on a breakdown, really pay attention to that 68.74 level if we break down today. On a rally above 68.92, you now have major resistance. Again, it's just above 69.100. It's about 69.08 to 010. Again, this is where getting looks like a distribution top in here, which is a broad base top, and this is how markets generally roll over. They that haven't gone vertical, and this market hasn't gone vertical, but is starting to roll over. So I'm looking for a bigger correction. I'm looking for at least a 20% correction coming up. NASDAQ. NASDAQ actually back below the prior harmonic 62.5 yesterday. Could never flip the. Remember, NASDAQ never flipped the harmonics. It could never get above the 62.5 to the long side. Caught on the daily rotation zone, sold off. So NASDAQ right now, it's about 24,900 is my key level. But again, that's only the 25, just above 25K. Above that, you have another resistance 25, 180, 200. That's why I'm going into more into neutral to rollover mode. I'm watching for the NASDAQ to at least reconnect with the daily 200 over the next little bit. Dow, actually yesterday closed below the breakout level and right at the daily rotation zone. So the Dow I'm actually seeing if this little mini 4-hour %B buy triggers for a potential bounce, but that's a scalpy bounce. I'll be going to next week, especially if we on Sunday night, Monday, see if we have a %B buy. That's about the only thing that short terms makes me bullish on the Dow. The Dow, again, we're getting major divergences up here. Going to be watching then closer. If we don't get that %B buy next week, going to be watching closer to the rotation zones. But the Dow, which is worrying, did not hold its breakout level. Sliced through it very easily. The Russell has a potential double top again. Not yet near triggering, but if it does, it's below the 50-day again and into the weekly rotation zone. All right, there's a lot more toppy things here. The Russell, it's 2638 is key. If it gets above there, I'm watching the top of the weekly rotation zone. The VIX, there we go. Still holding that trend line. Still, we got those strong bounce up yesterday. Remember, VIX has been steadily climbing. DAX could not close above the 62.5 yesterday. Ran up to 75 and then closed back below. No flip in the probabilities yet on the daily. A lot of things are very, very toppy. The yields continue to drop, finishing the double top pattern. Yields now trading at a very key level. You got to watch where they close today. Because if they close below 4.074, the remaining targets on the inverse head and shoulders are off the table. It's off the table. It would be invalidated. So, crude, going to be looking at this pullback yesterday, the daily rotation zone and the 200. Is this invalid yet? I'm watching. Yes, it is. We do not have a double. I'm going into Sunday night looking at this as a %B buy bar potentially if we close that way today. Gold pulled back to the rotation zone and rotating up again. Still can't get above this 5100 level. And no close above the 62.5 yet. Silver, the percent B buy that was very aggressive is still in play because, again, the stop has to be below. You'd have to ratchet up. But worst case now, the stop for this thing, worst case would be on a close back below 72.23. That would take it off the table for me. Other than that, we do have a little inverse head and shoulders now. Dollar index, still no close below 62.5, and now just moving sideways again. No other pattern just yet. Bitcoin, little bounce here yet. Nothing to talk about. I mean, technically, if it were to close above yesterday's high, it would be a percent B buy against the daily rotation zone. The spiders, again, on any bounce, we're just looking at the longer term on these. 685.60 is very key resistance. Back below the 50 now. Starting to have that dispersion top, the distribution top. So I'm going to be really focused, by the way, over the next few weeks. If we start making lower highs on any rallies and start really breaking some of these key levels, especially getting below 674.35 again. The NASDAQ still looking. We have a gap fill to potential for today if we do break down to 597.03. Yesterday closed back below 62.5. 594.50 area and then 587.72 areas. IWM on any push that you still have the gap filled potentially to yesterday on a rollover play 259.54, but on a breakdown really watch that 50 EMA. Last time we closed pretty much right at it. What else? Netflix is still bleeding, maybe getting a bit overdone. Netflix, Netflix, gonna be interesting. I am looking in this area. Okay, do we have potential? We might get some bounces, but I'm looking for a more of a weekly buy setup. I mean, we do have potential percent B buy for next week. It'd have to get above this. And a nice thing about that is it'd have to have a pretty substantial rally. But if we break this level, I'm watching more. I'm watching closer. There's very key support right around 69 to 70. And I'll be looking at that also. So this could be another one. Here's the level I'm looking at, by the way, if you're looking. This key area. This was a high back in November that we based at in June. We finally turned it into key support in October of 24. We based it in June of 24. This is very, very key. And it's also in the 50 and 62.5 harmonic. This is very key for me for looking for a longer term bottoming pattern. Is there a 1 hour mini double bottom on gold? That's one of those lopsided ones that's lower probability, but yes. There you go. It takes you to that 5100 key resistance level. There you go, Jake. Was it a 4 hour percent B buy? This, I believe, yes, this was a 4 hour percent B buy that retraced a little. This was triggered yesterday. So yeah, you have a couple. These are minorly bullish patterns. I like to take it back to the key resistance area. So that's where we sit. All right. I thought this was a pretty good session today, especially for some longer term stuff. Just because it's a longer term watch list does not go mean you run out and buy it. I'm still looking for key patterns. All right. So that's where we sit. With that, I shall talk to every. Well, I won't talk to you on Monday. Well, check to see if there's something pops up on Monday. Just check to see if something's. I'll put it up around 30 minutes in advance of the go live time. If one pops up, I'll do something. If one does not, and you don't see it within 15 minutes of the live time, it's not. I'll probably just put something out on X or / Twitter anyways. You're welcome, Anissa. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and I shall talk to you all probably Tuesday, definitely Tuesday, possibly Monday. Bye for now.